So today I'm with, Sky presenter, BBL Sky presenter Nat Coombs on the All British Basketball Podcast BBL Lab. So how are you doing today?
Very good. Good to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming on. We've been wanting to make it happen for a while, and I guess here we
got
are.
There at the end, didn't we? We've been knocking back a lot of DMs on Twitter, and it's entirely my fault that it hasn't happened until now. But we made it. That's the important thing.
We're here now, and like you said, that's all that matters. So,
right.
So to start off, I guess explain who you are, what you do, and I guess how you got into the position you're in now.
Well, as you say, I'm anchoring the BBL coverage for Sky this year, and that's what I do. I'm a sports anchor that I guess particularly has worked in two spaces. So live sport is very much where I like to be, and American sports as well. So I guess I'm probably most known for my work with the NFL, which I've been broadcasting, for getting on 15 years, would you believe, for all kinds of channels and all kinds of ways. So I started out, my first NFL gig was on Channel 5 back in the day, the late night stuff. And then I moved to Channel 4 and then be doing stuff with the BBC and TalkSport and have a show with ESPN. And so I kind of bounced around a lot with that. Like many people in our business, a hired gun, right? So I go where the work is.
Yeah. So I guess what, something I've been interested in since the BBL came, when it was announced to be on Sky Sports, what was the process of, getting the British Basketball League onto, Sky Sports?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think a lot of things had to align. I mean, it's worth pointing out that, there's probably a lot I don't know, as the host, I just rock up and ask questions. Obviously a bit more than that, but the company behind it, a Buzz 16, a terrific firm, and Scott Melvin, who's one of the main guys there, was, I guess, a key protagonist in putting everything together, and realized that there's huge potential for the BBL, and in order for it to fulfill that potential, then a platform like Sky Sports is fundamental. By no means the only part of it. I think there are a lot of different things, your work and other podcasters that are out there and digital content makers that are out there. I think that's massive, and social media as well. But having a regular exposure for the game, for live games, I think is obviously a fundamental for any league to succeed. So Scott and the Buzz 16 guys were key putting it together, obviously, with the BBL, and Scott comes from Sky Sports, so has a lot of good relationships there, and I think has managed to put together a really, really experienced crew, and some of the guys that you don't see behind the scenes have been involved in sports for a long time, but basketball as well. So our director, Andy, Mick, our producer, these are guys that have been, 20, 25 years involved in broadcasting basketball in one way or another. And I think that's as important, of course, as what you see on the screen is the experience of the team behind it.
Yeah, well, seeing the BBL on Sky was great because I guess as a kid growing up, you see, the Premier League, you see all the big football on there. So seeing the sport, just, finally getting, I guess, that coverage it's amazing,
Yeah, that's great to hear. And what we wanted to, one of the things that we really wanted to do was make sure that we created a show that was accessible for newbies, and I don't just mean people necessarily new to the BBL, but absolutely people that are new to the BBL, but even new to basketball, right? Or kind of maybe have a passing interest to catch the odd NBA game. We wanted to create a show that they could feel not alienated, not kind of shut out, that wasn't too overtly technical, but equally to make sure that we were embracing and not patronizing really literate fans out there, either literate basketball fans or literate BBL fans, right? And that's the kind of balance that we've tried to strike, is create a show that achieves both. And I think because particularly the depth of talent that we have with Kieran and Mike and Drew and Ant and Dan and all the great guests we've had, Gino Crandall and many others that are playing in the league right now as guests on the weeks that they're not playing, or they don't have a game, on the nights that they don't have a game. That's, I think, great for the hardcore fan, that these are all people that live and breathe it.
Yeah, well, I know it's helped. I know people that don't necessarily follow basketball now have noticed that the BBL, I guess the BBL even exists now. It's on Sky, for instance. In school, people say, "Oh, I saw, for instance, because I'm a Giants fan, I've started doing Giants things. Oh, I saw the Giants on Sky, or that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
so
It's
it's definitely helped a lot.
a big time. It's that just that accessibility. I mean, I remember. I mean, that's how as a kid. I mean, my kind of route to American sports was through the NFL, and I fell in love with the NFL as a kid, and then discovered baseball and basketball, right? And just was kind of devouring everything I could.
Oh, I think you've frozen. There we
As
go. There we go.
did you lose me then? Yeah, my
you're
connection
right.
dropped out. Shall I pick that up? Do you want me to pick that up?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. So I think I was talking about how I fell in love with
Yeah.
American sports, right? And so as a kid, it was the NFL that got me in, and then baseball and basketball followed. But if I hadn't turned on the TV and stumbled across the NFL, I'm not sure. I'm not sure any of this would have happened, right? And that's the kind of crazy thing. But it's different now because I grew up when I was a kid. We didn't have the internet and obviously social media, right? So I'm dating myself here, but so it was if you saw it on TV, if you kind of lucked across it. And I guess because of the rise of digital and digitization and everything, there are more entry points for people to find stuff, but nevertheless, nothing beats seeing the game, right? So seeing a live show, the action, nothing beats that.
Yeah. So obviously it was a final last Sunday, the trophy final. It was Plymouth Lions, and it was a great one.
Yeah.
So what's it like, I guess, being at live games and, seeing these, great talents on the court?
It's a great question because I think that's really underestimated.
Yeah.
And I really try and remind myself not to underestimate that because it's a privilege, man. It really is.
Yeah.
And I found, I mean, this is the first year I've covered basketball in this capacity, right? In different shows I've done over the years, I've done a lot of radio stuff, and particularly with Talk Sport. And again, that tends to be quite, American sports focused. So, I've in that capacity, but this is the first time I've covered the game in terms of live coverage. So the first game, it was, I mean, the whole story of the first game was nuts anyway, right? Because it was in Newcastle, it was a double header, and it was proper, everything that everything that could go wrong went wrong. So we were, getting a cab at one point from Grantham to Newcastle to get to the venue on time because our train had broken down. We got to the venue like 40 minutes before we were meant to go. I mean, it was nuts. And I remember when I finally, having got the kind of first game on, so we finished the pregame, we were just sitting down, taking a deep breath. I remember just, getting my bearings and, sitting next to Kieran and Mike and just like, take a deep breath and like, oh my, bow, I'm here. This is it. This is happening. This has started now. And so I don't take that for granted. And to your question about the final, I mean, look, it's obviously whichever way you cut it, it's weird without fans, right? And I think the players have done incredibly well to keep that energy and that focus in an environment where there's no crowd to feed off and there's no energy in the room. And it is difficult, even though we've all kind of got used to it a bit, right? Watching sport on telly as well. But I mean, you're probably the same, right? But it's weird. So I can't wait for the fans to be back. But nevertheless, just the energy of being that close to the action, and particularly on a game like Sunday when there's silverware on the line and you see what it means. I have to say that was something that was really apparent. And by no means am I saying this wasn't apparent with the Raiders, because actually I remember we did a game in Plymouth, turn of the year, and it was when Vince and Andrew Lawrence were guests. And I remember that game talking to Andrew Lawrence, just saying the intensity in this team was really apparent. Like you could see that there was something coming together with Plymouth as a team, and of course they've gone on this terrific run. So when I say what I'm about to say, it's by no means saying that Plymouth didn't have this, but London and Liggins in particular he's in a zone. He was just absolutely locked in. You could see from the very start, he was completely fifth gear. He was brilliant on Sunday.
Yeah, well, I noticed that, and it seemed like, I guess you could say the line, phrase commonly used is they won it. The team that wanted it more won on the day, and I guess that might be down to the fact that the Lions were in the the cup final. I think it was against the Eagles, when so COVID and that hit.
Right.
So I think, for instance, that might have been a driving force for the Lions, but
I think you're right. I think you're
nonetheless,
right.
it was a great final.
I think you're spot on with that. And I think Liggins said that in one of we said probably in a number of the interviews he gave, but definitely the one, the piece that we did, one of the pre-game features, Liggins was talking about that and the motivation. I mean, there must be nothing worse, right, than missing a big game and watching it and knowing you just can't do anything about it. You can't help your teammates. And he was saying that. So yeah, I think it's you're bang on with that the motivation that a lot of the players that didn't take part drew from that, you could see they were not going to let another one go.
Yeah. So to anyone, I guess, looking to get into, presenting or anything like that, what advice, I guess, would you give to, to someone, if they were looking to get into a similar career choice as yours?
Yeah. I guess a few different things. Firstly, just get out there and start doing stuff. I mean, a massive respect to what you're doing, for really. And that would be my first bit of advice, is whether it is getting on mic and doing that. And even then there are lots of different things you can look at, right? So you can host stuff, you can hook up with somebody else and go on more as an analyst, and on the technical side in that way. You could practice commentating play by play and just, and even when I say practice, I mean, you could, is there a local team that you could get involved with in that capacity, or so you can just get reps, just pick up reps, whatever you're doing. But if it's not broadcasting, writing, and if you just want to get involved in it and you're not really comfortable or interested in either of those spaces, then you got producing as well, right? So all of these different areas. So I think getting reps is key, and I think that's not to be underestimated. I think one of the values there as well is, we're doing that, is you start to find out what you want to do, and it isn't necessarily always clear. Like I know, friends of mine in the business that knew from an early age they just wanted to be commentators, and that's what they wanted to do. Unfortunately, I wasn't blessed with a clear vision. So it took a while to kind of work that out. But I remember when I was started anchoring shows, and that's specific, specifically what I do and what I want to do. When I anchor shows, I knew straight away, this is what I want. This is where I'm home. This is what I want to focus on. So I think you only really discover that to the most part by experimenting and trying different roles and working out what you want to do. I suppose the other bit of advice I'd give too would be to just be humble and respectful, because I think that gets you a long way. Even when things start to happen, I think it's very much just like the sports we cover. It's very much a team game, right? We're all in a team, and there are lots of different personalities and lots of different characters, and just like in a locker room, right? But if there is a harmonious team, and if you are helping create that harmony just by being, respectful to other people, it doesn't matter if somebody is the director of the show or a runner on the show. Like, you should treat people the same and shouldn't carry ego. I've always really tried to respect that and apply that to what I do. I think that's a big thing. So just be head down, try different things. And one other thing I'd say, just be prepared to do within reason anything, right? I mean, we all have our limits, but I got a very quick story. I got a pretty big break after I was already presenting. I was already doing NFL on Channel 5, and I got a call from ESPN. So the first time I worked with them, it's back in the day when they had the Premier League rights before BT got them, and they had a kind of chat show, a bit like Soccer AM, I guess, which Art Chapman and Kelly Cates were presenting. And the producer phoned me and said, a friend of mine in the industry has recommended you. Would you be interested in coming in? I know you're presenting, but we've got an opportunity to do like a little feature on the show every week for a couple of weeks, because the guy that normally does it is away. And I know you might think it's beneath you because you're presenting, but if you're interested, great. And I was like, yeah, why not? Let's it's a great show. It's really good people. So I rocked up and did it, and I had a really good time doing it. I didn't think anything more of it. And then a few months later, they got back in touch, and Chappers was moving on, and there was a presenting role open. And because I knew them, that I think played a big part in helping me get the gig. Because so if I'd been a bit of an egocentric, well, I'm not doing that, I'm a presenter, I probably wouldn't have got the gig. So that's kind of what I mean as well, I guess, by having a bit of humility and just head down and cracking on. So yeah, a few different things I'd say there.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, I guess to add on to my own question, something I guess that's helped me, you could say, is this isn't me saying to use people, but it's kind of networking, making sure keeping good relationships. And then if you need help, and one thing I found myself in the basketball community is everyone's willing to help anyone and everyone.
Yeah.
Say I need a clip for a certain thing I'm trying to do, someone will happily send that clip, that kind of thing, which is great about community. And it's also, to build your name, and that it's about networking as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good point. And social media really enables that, right? I mean, that's how we met, right? We kind of hooked up on there. You can reach out to, to people and if you are doing something, whether it's a podcast or you're writing a column and you want to get don't be afraid to do that. I mean, don't be afraid. I absolutely do my best if somebody reaches out to me if it's somebody asking for advice or whatever, to come back to them, because I really appreciate it when I was starting out, people that did that. There was a comedy writer in LA who I reached out to when I was still at school, and he wrote a letter back to me from he was working for Paramount at the time, and it was on this Paramount Pictures headed paper, and I still got the letters, and the fact it was a great letter and he took time to do it. And years later, he's on Twitter, and I started following him, and he followed me back, and I messaged him saying, "You're probably not going to remember this, but as a kid I wrote to you and you took time to write back to me." And the crazy thing was, he said, I don't think you remember the letter, but he goes, I was in London about 3 months ago and I caught you on, I was watching NFL coverage and I caught you. I was like, no way, this is that crazy full circle stuff, So I think it's a good point you make, man. Networking, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So a fan question now. This is from Jake Nichols, one of the co-hosts of a Manchester Giants podcast, Orpheus Giant. So from BBL players I guess pick any BBL players that you think will cross over to the NFL, and who and what positions.
I love that question. I've got to go. Well, okay. I've got to go. Firstly, I've got to keep it close to home, right? I've got to keep it in the family. So I've got to say Drew Lasker. Lasker, I think, would make a solid slot receiver. I think Lasker, he's definitely got to have a position that flash is inherent in that. So I'm saying that. Ashley Hamilton, definitely. I could see Hamilton as a tight end. I mean, there's a lot of correlation there. A lot of tight ends, of course, are often make that transition for basketball. You see a lot of college. Antonio Gates was a good example of a really capable basketball player that made the switch. So tight end's a good position there. Liggins as well. You can see Liggins doing damage as a running back. Just hand him the rock and he will just run bulldoze through the middle, Derrick Henry style. So yeah, those are my three.
Okay, so another fun question. This one's from LVC Dusha. And LVC asked, when are you getting him on? When are you getting him on as a guest on Sky?
I love it. LVC. Hey, if it was my call, LVC, this Friday, what are you up to this Friday? That would be great. Hey, let's do it. I mean, we've had some great players on this season already. I mean, I mentioned Ash. I mentioned Gino. Gareth was on the other week as well. So. It's very much the plan to do that and to keep doing that, kind of rolling into next season. So we will make it work, LVC. Absolutely, got to get it done, man.
Okay, so on to the final segment of the podcast. We've got a couple of quickfire questions. So to start off with, who's been the best person in your entire career to work with?
Wow, God, that's a hell of a question. I think it would be really hard to pick one. Because I've been really, really lucky, both in terms of the colleagues I've had and also the opportunity I've had with different interviews and stuff. I suppose that with the latter, because it wouldn't be fair to pick a kind of one colleague over the others, but I would say there were two players in particular, both NFL. Well, okay, three. I'll give you three names. So,
okay,
one of the most fun interviews I ever did was with Hugh Jackman, which was when I was with ESPN the first time, and he was promoting a film called Real Steel, and it was one of those things where these guys, they do like 55 interviews in a day, and everyone gets 5 minutes or whatever. And we were lucky because we were the last interview of the day, which you might think is the worst spot, but can actually be the best.
Yeah.
And he rocked up, and his you know, his all his people kind of came in. You're in a hotel room, and you know, he rocked up and he said, his people said, "Okay, Hugh has exactly 10 minutes." So they said, "We're like, okay, all right, we better get moving then." And then my producer kind of came over and said, "So Hugh, so we're ESPN." He's like, "ESPN." He saw the mic cube. He's like, "Great." And my producer said, "So it's quite a chilled show, like, you know, we have fun." He's like, "Oh, great. Can we talk about sports?" And he's like, "We talk about what you want." So we had a lot of fun with it, and he was a really good laugh. And we ended up, I think, going for about 35 minutes. You could see his publicist just giving me daggers. Probably completely wrecked their schedule. So that was great fun, and he was brilliant. Player wise, very quickly, two both NFL players that were just legends for me as a kid. Joe Montana. So I got to work a bit with Montana and recreate one of the legendary plays in 49ers history with him, and then also get to ask him about his favorite John Candy film, because there's a seminal bit of footage which you're obviously far too young to remember. Even for me, I was a young kid when it happened, but the 49ers were in the Super Bowl. They were down. There was 2 minutes to go. He had to drive his team down the whole length of the field. You know this one? And he basically is in a huddle and he says, "Oh, look, guys, John Candy," and points out the film star John Candy in the crowd. And all his teammates are just laugh, relax. And it's a classic example of just great leadership. So I got to ask him about his favorite John Candy film. So Montana was great. And then finally, Jim Kelly, who was obviously a contemporary of Montana's, who was a brilliant quarterback and just a very tough, like old school player in many respects, who is even more impressive and strong off the field. He's been battling cancer, has battled it and has won that battle. And just an inspiration. And he was one of the London games we were doing at Wembley for the BBC. It was kind of brought in as a guest. And I was really just, God, I mean, that was one of those moments I was just so thankful for what I'm doing, because it's like I'm interviewing Jim Kelly. I'm interviewing him. B, he's sound. He's like a really top bloke, and this is a job, you know. So so those three, I'd say.
Yeah. Okay. So what I guess, in fact, what's been the funniest story, you know, in your career? You know, what's been a story that sticks out that you can joke about, or embarrassing moment or something?
Oh God, a lot of embarrassing moments. Wow. Okay. So at Super Bowl I was doing in New York. This is when we were on Channel 4, I think. We were out there all week and it was freezing. It was proper bitter New York weather. And we were filming all week, doing things. And Super Bowls anyway are nuts, right? Because they are just a whirlwind of, you're there like, I mean, my God, if you're not only you're working very hard, but you might go out at the end of a day for you know for one or two glasses of the good stuff. And so the long old weeks, and by game day I was sick as a dog. I don't think I've ever been that ill in my life. And so the production meeting that we had on game day was about 9 a.m. And you could see in the production meeting, and for this game I wasn't anchoring it, I was sideline, right? So I was doing sideline, which is an unreal gig at the Super Bowl, right? And more of that in a minute. And so the producers said, "Nat, you need to get some sleep. So go up to the hotel room." And Super Bowl, and this one was everyone was based in Manhattan, even though the game was in MetLife, which is actually in Jersey, over state lines, right? And so he said, "Get some sleep. There are shuttle buses that are running to the stadium every hour. All these different locations shuttle media to the stadium, right? So get a few hours sleep, get a shuttle bus about 1 o'clock. We'll get you some food when we're there. You'll be fine." So I'm just sort of drifting off to sleep. And then the phone rings about 20 minutes later saying, "Nah, all the shuttle buses have been canceled because of security. You got to make your own way to MetLife."
Oh, man.
So I just couldn't make this stuff up. I was so ill, and it wasn't like, "Oh, I've got a cold." I was like properly, I was like crammed into a tube, you know, like they sort of pushed against it. It got me so far. Then I had to get a train, and I was making my way there. Just what is going on? By the time I got to, I think, a certain station, and then I got a cab, and the cab says, "This is as far as I can go." And I could see MetLife, I could see it, but he pulled into this hotel opposite MetLife. He said, "I can't go any further because of security." So I had to, I think, how many into the stadium? And
yeah.
it's like sort of 16 lanes of motorway. And the guy said, I phoned my producer and he said, "Nat, come on, we got to,
Yeah.
it's cutting it fine." So there was a bus in this hotel, which was with a lady with a clipboard, right? And
Yeah.
so I walked up to her and I said, by this stage I had my Super Bowl pass, because you pick it up obviously before you get in. And I said, "As you can see, I'm from," and I put on a real sort of Hugh Grant stuff. "I'm from, the UK, and you're not going to believe this, but," and she let me get on the bus to get into, which is go to the stadium. And the bus was full of, it was the Seahawks playing, and full of Seahawks friends and family, and like,
Oh, right.
seeing on them. So like driving to the thing with them.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I get in finally, and I get down pitch side. And by this stage, man, I am absolutely space cadet. Like to this day, I have no idea how I did that broadcast. I joke about it I still see some of the guys involved with that. And I just have I have no real memory of it. And it looks fine. Like, you look on camera, you wouldn't have any idea. And luckily, in a way, if I was anchoring that, that could have got interesting. But can you imagine being in that state after that journey? And then I'm sidelines at the Super Bowl. I just felt like I was in a dream. It was just ridiculous. So yeah, that was hair raising, but we made it. And I got home just.
Well, I guess that's it. It's been great talking to you. Great getting an insight onto presenting and your career. So yes, thank you for coming on.
Oh, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me, man. And props for everything you're doing, man. Keep going. Keep grinding with that, man.
Thank you.